What's up, fellas? We are live. Am I coming through loud and clear? Hopefully. I should be coming through loud and clear. Don't usually have any audio issues with this new setup, but let me know if I'm coming through nice and clear. Just wait for some confirmation. Hello, Sean. So, am I coming through loud and clear? Come on, guys, let me know. I'm still waiting for some guys, tell me. Is the audio good? Come on, guys. Is the audio good? Someone tell me. Okay. Thank you, JT. Thank you, Sean. I was sitting there thinking, is everyone just having a conversation and nobody can hear what I'm saying? Yeah, tonight's stream, just a bit of a. I rewatched Kills. I rewatched Ends today, and I just wanted to go over some of the issues that I brought up, or JT as well brought up in the stream on Friday night, because when in that harsh, I mean, my opinions haven't changed that much really, but kind of went into that stream fresh. I mean, literally seen the film like an hour or two before, went in pretty damn harsh because I was kind of a bit bewildered by what I'd seen. Given the movie a rewatch, and things haven't changed that much, but I felt it needed another stream to really sort of like go over some of the issues that I had. Maybe sort of like iron out a few of the issues I had, which maybe aren't as bad as initially thought, but there are certain things which haven't really resolved. I still think they made a big mistake with. So I just thought I'd use this stream tonight to kind of like address some of the issues and address the issue with this film in general. This film has kind of generated a lot of negativity and positivity on both sides, and it almost feels like a political battle with this film. Almost like the sort of thing you see because on Twitter people are just going at each other regarding this film, and it almost feels political. As if it's kind of like a left versus right thing almost, or in the UK it would be Conservative Labour, or in America Democrat Republican. It's almost like you people really, really hate the opinions of the other side. So if people and it does seem to be that people tend to fall on one side or the other. People really, really seem to like the film, or people just out and out hate it. And a lot of people really haven't got time to like the movie if they're on one side of the spectrum, and people really haven't got time to like find any fault with the movie on the other side of the spectrum. Which is not a very healthy attitude to have. I mean, that's the thing with Halloween. It does. You do get a lot of very, very strong emotions when you attach yourself to this franchise, and people they are passionate fans. And I'm one of those people. I'm all for free speech, so I'm of the opinion, say what the fuck you want, man. And if it pisses people off, who cares? As long as you're not inciting violence or issuing death threats, just say what you fucking want. I've got mods on this channel, and I'm not a big enough YouTuber to get like hate comments on in the comment section. It might happen one day, but I fucking promote it. Just come on and just give me just fucking hate my guts. If you don't like what I'm saying, just fucking come on it and just say what you want. I'm not threatened by somebody on the other side of the computer. And that's kind of like the attitude that I have to life. It's like just say what the fuck you want, and if people don't like it, tough shit. And if you're gonna get offended by it, well, fuck off, you know. So if you're offended by people's hatred of the film, fuck off. And if you're offended by people's love of the film, fuck off. Deal with it. If you don't like it, shut the fuck up. It's just like, who cares? It's just one of those things. Freedom of speech, man. Freedom of speech. That's what makes the world go. This gets into a more a political thing because I'm just, especially in America, freedom of speech is something you take for granted, and it's something we kind of are losing in Europe. And it boggles my mind when I see Americans fighting for censorship. When it comes in terms of like political things, fighting for censorship, fighting for people to be cancelled or to be closed down. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. You live in a society where freedom of speech is lauded, is celebrated. Don't fucking threaten that with your stupid little fucking ideals. Appreciate it, because one day they'll come for you. It's all well and good complaining and keep saying cancel that person, cancel this person. One day they'll come for you and your little ideals, and then you'll be like, well, who was defending me? There'll be no one left to defend you because you've cancelled everybody else. So yeah, I mean, yeah, in terms of like hatred online and shit, I don't really give a fuck. Say what you want, issue death threats to me, I don't care. Although that is illegal, so probably shouldn't do that. But yeah, in terms of like these people who get all offended by hate comments and shit, I mean, just suck it up, man. Just suck it up. Who fucking cares? It's fucking Twitter, it's Facebook, it's YouTube. Like, that's not. It's no real threat there, is there? Come on, it's some fucking gimp behind the keyboard. They're not real threats, are they? So just deal with it, and it is what it is. Some people don't like Halloween. Some people love Halloween. Some people hate it. Some people want to, make love to it. It just is what it is. So just accept it. People have differences of opinion, and that's the way it is. That's the way the world goes round. So if you hate Halloween and you can't bear the people who love it, accept it. It is what it is. Move on, and vice versa. If you love it and you can't accept people who hate it, just suck it up, man, because that's what it is. Move on. Get on with life. It's a fucking movie at the end of the day. Halloween Ends is a movie. And in 100 years from now, no one's going to give a flying fuck about this film. People will still care about 78 version, though. There's my little opinion. Yeah, so let's just jump in the chat anyway. JT says, we're all horror fans. Opinions differ for everyone. If you did like a movie or you did, whatever, move on and watch another film. Exactly, JT. Even and Dan, Yo Big T. I'm just JT. Hey Sean, yeah, I'm actually really enjoying Hellraiser. Hellraiser's a decent movie, man. Yeah, again, I'm not the biggest fan of the Hellraiser franchise, but the new film I really enjoyed. It kind of went some way to like bringing on new fans, and maybe there's some hardcore old school Hellraiser fans who hate this film. I don't know. I honestly don't know because I'm not in that community. But for somebody who's never really liked the franchise that much, I really enjoyed it. Now, whether I'm the sort of person they're aiming at, I probably am, because if I'm somebody who's new, if they're bringing me on board in a positive way, then that's probably what they were aiming for. Now, there could be a lot of like hardcore Hellraiser fans who hate this film because it's people like me who are liking it, who never liked the old films. But I mean, yeah, that's just life, isn't it? I mean, like going back to what I said, there's probably hardcore Hellraiser fans who hate this new film, and there's probably new Hellraiser fans who got into the franchise from this new film, and they've got no time for maybe like a couple of the older films. But Yeah, I enjoyed Hellraiser. I thought it was a fun film. I'm not gonna say it was any sort of classic, like, but I enjoyed it. Um, you know, a decent amount of like what I'd call it wasn't certainly gory to the point of like maybe a couple of the older films, but it was acceptable. Um, Cast were okay. I mean, a female lead was slightly annoying. I felt I don't think she was too sympathetic, but I don't think she was meant to be sympathetic. Really, I don't think this film was aimed at having sympathetic characters. I think that was the whole point of the film. But you still want to see them get out in one piece. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely set the bar for a new and going forward for something new to come of this franchise. Definitely, I would say. It feels like it's going somewhere once again with just a slightly decent budget and a decent script and some decent actors. It's taken it out of that DVD hell that it was languishing in. Um, I'm sure I said hello to Dan anyway, but he says hello JGT. Sean says, I'm sorry, but people saying this is going to either crazy or have brain damage. You're referring to Halloween Ends, obviously. Yeah, I mean, I have rewatched it. I'm still not overly keen on the film. I've warmed to it slightly on a rewatch, but it's not perfect. It's got major flaws, and some of the flaws are things that people seem to have overlooked or like decided not to even bother acknowledging, which I'll go to in a minute. JT says he'll be on tomorrow. Yeah, well, yeah, tomorrow JT gonna be midnight stream, like a typical sort of midnight stream. So what I'll do is probably tomorrow I'll probably rewatch X because I know you really you love that film and I liked it, but I think I'll give it a rewatch just so I can go into it fresh and we can like maybe double down on that film because I think X is probably one of the strongest horror films of the year. Sean says Halloween. Yes, Sean, we know. Sean doesn't like Halloween. I don't know if anybody's aware of this, but Sean does not like Halloween Ends. Um, it's like he really doesn't like it. um, so Dan, I saw the Hellraiser franchise stream got moved. Okay, so not quite sure what's going on there. Big T says it's just funny to me that it's days later and people are still ready to grab their pitchforks and torches. Like you can't go backwards, you can only go forward. It was fun ragging on the movie at the first. Well, that's what I tried to do. I think is I've gone back to the movie and tried to give it another watch, and I've done that. And yeah, there are elements to the film which are still a little bit mind-boggling to me, but there are little things which I've noticed which don't quite annoy me as much. Ben says, "Who wore the mask better?" You know what? To be fair, Corey with the scarecrow mask when he's killing the doctor, I did like that. I think that was the most, in terms of like what you could class as like maybe slightly disturbing, scary. Even I think that was scarier. I think we've got to the point now where Michael's mask has lost some of the impact. We're so used to it, it's become almost slightly generic. When we're watching a Halloween movie now, the mask has lost some of its impact. Maybe that's a controversial statement, but seeing Corey just like jamming the fucking knife into the doctor's neck with that fucking really really basic scarecrow. I called it a clown mask on I think Jonathan's stream or Chris's stream this morning. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention. It's a scarecrow mask. But the way he was just jamming that knife into his neck and then he just looks up, there's something about the cheapness of the mask and the fact that he's such an unimposing character. He's not like a big guy, really. There's something really disturbing about that scene. It's far more disturbing than seeing Michael, like this 6'4" guy with the mask on, coming from the background and like killing his his what his mistress, the girl who works with him. that kill didn't really do anything for me. It wasn't disturbing in any way. It didn't have really any sort of impact. But Corey's kill did. That really did. Um, I mean, in terms of like effectiveness, that was probably the best kill. In terms of out goriness and a bloody kill, which we didn't really have in this film. Obviously the DJ getting his tongue cut off, that was a nice kill. That was a really nice kill. I mean, it looked really, really realistic as well. But unfortunately, he was just a character nobody gave a shit about. He's just somebody they threw in. 10 minutes before his death, some guy who looks like he's walked on from the 1970s, and they just kill him. And we love the Halloween kills for the random. We love Halloween movies for random kills. Don't get me wrong. It's a staple of the movie. Something they didn't do in the first film, but it became a thing later on. But we love them because I think people of a certain age, like myself and most people in the chat, we grew up on these movies, so we like the random kills. But as we get to as somebody now who's in the 40s, for a film that is no longer nostalgic, it's just a new film, and it's never going to have any nostalgic feel. Random kills really don't do it for me anymore. And I like the kill. I think it was a really effective kill, but at the stage of my life now, it's like it's gonna have to be Halloween movies. Probably for me to really enjoy it, it's gonna have to revert back to that like 78 version of like building up characters, lowering the death count, and giving us people we care about, and giving us some stalking. And that's the thing about this film. It's like, which I don't think I really talked about in the original video on Friday, is that this film doesn't really feature any stalking from Michael Myers. There's very little, most of the film he spends, obviously in his little cave doing absolutely jack shit. One of the scenes that could have been better, one of the few scenes which takes me back to like the 78 film or some of the older films, is when Laurie arrives home and she sees Alison going upstairs with Corey, to do the dirty. And she just stands outside and watches, and then Michael's watching from the distance, and she turns around and she suspects that somebody's there, and he just walks away. That was one of the few scenes of the film where I feel like he had that old school Halloween feel. Because if you watch the original Halloween film, and this is another point I made in Friday's stream, is that, and it's something that Nick Loss of Drive, and he brought up on he made a video today talking about the film and why he likes it and that, and he made a point which, I mean, I love Nick, great guy, but I have to disagree when he made the point about Michael being omnipresent in the movie. He's there, he's everywhere. It was just something along those lines, and it's just something I totally disagree with. In terms of, like, I mentioned this on Friday, is that I never get the feeling that Michael is anywhere in this film other than, the hole in the ground, waiting to come out and like maybe kill a few. It's not like the original movie where he's, okay, we see him behind the car, we see him behind the hedgerow, we see him in the garden. He's there playing in sight, but every other scene, you think he's just there. You suspect he's there watching at every moment. No matter, he might not even be in the scene. It's like the scene where Laurie and Annie go to and they meet up with Sheriff Brackett, and they've been smoking weed, and they quickly put it out, and they talking to him. In the background, there's just cars driving past. Now, he does drive past in the car, and you can see him look directly at them. But the fact of the matter is, even if he'd not been in that scene, you still suspected that he was there somewhere in the background watching. And you don't get that from this film in any sense for me. It just never feels like he's anywhere other than just in the hole in the ground. And apart from when Corey comes on a bit of a killing spree, And that was one of my major issues with the film. It just never felt like Michael was this omnipresent character who could just strike at any moment. And it's clear from the way they handled the character as well. So I'm just going to go into some of the comments. Some of the comments I made about the film. Maybe where I was overly harsh, maybe where I was right. Okay, nitpicking aside, yes, I did criticize the theme tune. On a second listen, I like the theme tune. I still don't think it's as good as Kills. I don't think many people would regard it as good as Kills. I think Kills is the best soundtrack of the entire franchise. It's just epic. It really is. One thing I won't be swayed on is Laurie's transformation. I know Dan brought this up in his stream, and he doubled down on it. I think on Chris' stream this morning or last night, whatever time zone you're in. Laurie's transformation from 18 to ends is just utterly bizarre to me. I've never suffered from PTSD or depression, anything like that, but I think there's people who've been in situations would probably look at this and go, "This is a bit crazy." I've said it, and I'll double down. Laurie's behavior in this movie should have been the behavior in 2018, and then a downward spiral from the events of 2018. So when we got to ends, the way she is in 18 is the way she should be at the beginning of ends. Totally PTSD, locking down the house, ready for Michael. Michael is out there. Nobody knows where he is. At the beginning of 2018, he's locked up. He isn't going anywhere. Like, what leads to believe that he's going to escape? What's she basing it on? In this universe, he killed in 1978, and then was caught immediately almost, and then locked up, and he's been locked up for 40 years. What makes her think that he's going to escape? And yet, 4 years later, when it's become perfectly clear that this guy is some fucking supernatural killer, which is someone else I want to get into, who is not being caught, could be anywhere. She's just like having romantic conversations in the supermarket. It doesn't make any sense. It totally goes against her character to this point. Yeah, so I'm doubling down on that one. That just to me is just utterly bizarre. The whole Haddonfield feels grimy, a little bit decrepit. A few people have mentioned like that's the influence of Michael on the town. Like, I'll take that. I'm still not entirely convinced that's a viable explanation. He's had some sort of like evil poison influence on the town. I mean, I'll take that, but I still think it's a bit of a stretch. I've still got issues with Haddonfield being anything other than this very, very middle class, picture perfect town, because that's the perfect thing about 78 Haddonfield is an 80, well, obviously 81 because it's the same night, and to some extent, a few of the later films it's the complete and utter, middle class normality, boredom almost of this town in the Midwest. I think it's is it Illinois? Is it the mid? Would you class it as the Midwest of America? I don't know, but it's certainly it's this boring middle class town where not much happens. Everybody keeps the gardens. Everyone cuts the grass. Everybody's got nice jobs. Criminality is probably, very, very low, and it's completely offset by this psychopathic killer, which makes it all the more, it just makes it so much more of a bizarre sort of setup. Like, you've got this picture perfect town with this crazy killer who just goes on a rampage. If you're going to make it more of a Rob Zombie feel, where it's grimy and it's gritty and it's a bit more blue collar, it loses the impact of this killer in this town, like just often, normal folk. And okay, this is nothing on the level of like the zombie movies in terms of like just white trash, because those movies were just fucking dog shit. I hate that. I mean, two's got its fans. I can't bear white trash Michael Myers. It just goes against everything for me of what Halloween is. But yeah, I mean, so I'll take that. It's gone a bit grimy because of like the impact, but I don't have to like it. I mean, I really don't. Yeah, the dialogue, the dialogue's not. I mean, it's better than Killed. It's not great. I mean, I'll give it a pass. It's. I think there's still the Laurie love interest with the name escapes me, the other guy that never really materialized into anything. Like, what was the point? It was just it seemed irrelevant. The hate that Laurie gets from the family outside the supermarket, where they just start again. That just felt a little bit. Where did that come from? I mean, seemed a little bit bizarre to me. I don't really understand that at all. It's like what did Laurie do to like antagonize Michael Myers? I mean, it was the fucking podcasters who were responsible for him to going crazy. It was nothing to do with Laurie. Why he came out? Why he just suddenly, they're waving the fucking mask in his face. Corey, so this is the big one. Corey, I don't think I've seen a lot of people saying that Corey's a sympathetic character. I don't really see where he's sympathetic. At what point is he a sympathetic character? He's kind of a douchebag almost as soon as he comes out of, obviously he's killed the kid. Obviously, terrible mistake. Wasn't his fault. But it takes very little time for him to become like an absolute douchebag, and he's at what point does he convey any sort of like sympathy? Once he stares Michael Myers in the face, he's just pretty much a killer, and who's trying to get Allison on board, and Allison just seems to fall for it without any questions, which is something else, but just makes no sense to me. I don't know. It's just like it's such a strange thing with Corey. I don't understand where this sympathy for Corey comes from. The the band, the least intimidating gang of all time, who would, this gang would not last long on the streets of Liverpool. I'll say that much. Or any other major city across the world. They would be getting fucking they would be getting the shit kicked out of them within 2 seconds. But in Haddonfield, it's apparently they can just do what they want. Yeah, they obviously he gains a bit of sympathy there, but then obviously that's where he meets his maker almost and looks into the eyes of Michael Myers, and from that point on, Corey's not a likable character. It's not like he's fighting with his guilt in any way. It's not like he's fighting with temptation. Once he's had that connection with Michael Myers, he doesn't really do anything to sort of make me feel anything for him. It's not like it doesn't really feel like he's fighting with his what's the word I'm looking for? Words escape me. Fighting with his when you feel bad about something, when you feel guilty about something, when you feel whatever it is. I've lost my train of thought. But he never conveys any sort of like guilt or anything after like that interaction with Michael Myers. It's just like he just fully takes on board like Michael's sort of like energy, and just like he just doubles down on it, and he'll fuck someone up, he'll kill somebody, or he'll get Michael to kill someone, and then he'll go to Allison, and he's got bruises all over him. Allison just thinks, "Oh fuck, I want to fuck you so much. Oh, you've got a black eye. I really want to fuck you now." I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm not going to ask any questions. You've got a black eye. You've got broken ribs. I just want to fuck you. and then he'll go out and do something else. He'll come back even more bloodied and bruised, and she'll get on the back of a motorbike, and we'll get some cheesy like music to play in. The whole Alison Corey thing for me just didn't land whatsoever. I just thought it was completely bizarre. I'll just hold it there a minute 'cause the chat has been, really going. So I'm okay. Sean says, "Rewatched it, you poor man." Sure. Next, I mean, I can. I mean, people. I mean, can people not see why? Absolutely. People want to see Michael Myers, not some douchebag taking his mask. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. I will get to that in a minute. Big T says, "Well, Halloween ended. It did." Lol, Big T. Ben says, "I'm so glad Halloween has ended." Damn right, Mike. Too many people are affected by Elvism, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I'm of the opinion that just say what the fuck you want and let it be as hateful and as offensive as you want. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about horror films. Who gives a fuck, man? Like, who cares? I mean, literally, I've got mods on this channel. I mean, I've not got any hate comments because, like I say, the channel's not really very big. But literally, if somebody came on here and said, "I think your opinion sucks. I want to murder you, and I'm gonna chop your head off," I'd be like, "Okay, then." I'd be like, if obviously if a moderator decides to delete it, I'd be okay, fair enough. You're doing your job. But if somebody said that, I'd be like, I don't give a fucking care. You want to chop my head off? Go for it. Do you know where to live? Find out where to live and come and do it, you fucking pussy. Because I'm not fucking scared of some fucking keyboard warrior. And I think that's the problem with society in 2022 is like, people are just offended by any little thing. And, you've got to take these keyboard warriors and, deal with them and just say, I don't care. Canceling them is just going to embolden them. Just take it on the chin and come back with a better. Just come back with a reply that's going to fucking end them. Canceling them. They'll just put that on Twitter and say, "Oh look, I got cancelled by this person." Just come back with a reply that they can't come back to. Outsmart them, outwit them, and then retweet it. That's the way to do it. Anthony, what's up, man? If you like it or hate it, what is the big deal? People are definitely on every film. Exactly. I think more people are upset with I think people are more upset where they rank it in the franchise. As long as it's not, I'm not going to get triggered by anything, but I will get triggered by somebody putting Resurrection above any film in this franchise. That will trigger me because Resurrection does not deserve to be above any film in this franchise. I have heard people say they were raising their score to count all haters getting. Yeah, I mean, we all know that. Like, I mean, people hate watch stuff, and people like hate score or love score movies and TV shows. It's happened with Lord of the Rings. It's happened with it's happened with Hellraiser. It's happened with a few things. The fan bases double down on their love or their hate, and then there's like this battle going on with like on Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb. I wouldn't be surprised if like 2 or 3 years from now, the likes of Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb just remove scores altogether. And I hope we don't get to the point where YouTube just decides to remove comments, because that would be the death of YouTube. I mean, seriously, that would be the absolute death of YouTube. Sophie, what's up, Sophie? Hey, Mike, as I've mentioned, I love the film, but again, I don't have a huge tie to the franchise. Good to see you on board, Sophie. I know what you mean about Charles. I've been called all sorts lately, especially. I know you have too, Sophie, because you've had to you've had to block people on Gareth's YouTube channel because you've been getting a bit of hate yourself. So I see where you're coming from. Hulk Hogan is no longer Myri American. It's Corey Cunningham. God damn it. God. Corey Cunningham. Miracle. Dancers welcome Sophie. Hey, Anthony. Sean says Hulk Hogan, most overrated wrestler of all time, but most important. in my opinion, the most important wrestler of all time. And that's coming from somebody who did not watch WWE, WWF, I should say, in the 80s when he was at his peak. And the reason why I say he's the most important wrestler of all time is if I said to my mum, my mum's 75, right? And my dad's 76. Now, if I said to them, who's Steve Austin and who's The Rock? Blank expression to both. Ric Flair, blank expression. Undertaker, blank expression. Hulk Hogan, they'd say, oh, he's that wrestling guy. They know who Hulk Hogan is. Hulk Hogan, not forever, but for a large portion of like the older population, he's the most famous wrestler of all time. He's probably it's not even a debate. Hulk Hogan is the most famous wrestler of all time because everybody knows who Hulk Hogan is. Not everybody knows who Steve Austin is. Not everybody knows who The Rock is. Fucking nobody knows who Roman Reigns is. So yeah, Hulk Hogan definitely overrated, but definitely one of the three most important wrestlers of all time. I'll put a question out to you guys. Mount Rushmore of wrestling, who's on it? For me, it's Hogan, Rock, Austin, and Undertaker. They're my four. And now I'm not a hardcore wrestling fan. I will have you know, I'm a normie compared to most people. I'm like the guy who got into wrestling in about 91 and was a fan through to about 99, 2000, then checked out for a long, long time. So my biasness is entirely based on the 90s and like I'll put Hogan in obviously because Hogan's Hogan, but I mean I think that's a pretty solid Mount Rushmore. Hogan, Undertaker, Rock, and Austin. I can see a lot of people taking the Rock out though, and maybe putting Flair in, or maybe somebody like I don't know, maybe one of the Horsemen or somebody. I can understand that. The Rock, realistically, maybe doesn't deserve to be on it, but anyway, we live in a society. We do, Ben. In 2 years, people will forget this film. I don't deny that. Stephen King's dumbass later. We've got Big Crack Rock. Big Crack Rock. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, Big Crack Rock. What's up, man? Sorry. I was just reading the comments and read who'd sent it. Jamie Clayton, we need to say, please. I mean, I'm down with that. I mean, I'm down for another Hellraiser film, definitely. We're not gonna see Doug Bradley again, so why not bring Jamie Clayton back? She's better than that fucking meme who played the last one from like 10, 15 years ago. It was just like a fucking meme. Just a fucking joke. Who the fuck that was? I have no idea. Sean says, me and Dan are big Hellraiser fans and love the film. Big Crack says, Hellraiser was sold in my opinion. New design for centre backs are so good. I've got issues. I don't think. I think a couple of them. I like Jamie Clayton. I think she looked. Oh shit! I'm down that fucking rabbit hole of calling. I liked them's portrayal of Hellraiser. Just playing it safe. Don't want to get cancelled. I think a couple of the other centre backs looked a little bit. I mentioned this on a stream a couple of weeks ago. A little bit lightweight, if it doesn't really make much sense, but lacked solidity, which still doesn't make much sense. They didn't feel very grounded in even though they were being played by actors, they almost felt like CGI. It's just like the original Hellraiser movie, they just felt like, they were there, 6 feet of like muscle and sinew and torso and tendons and shit, whereas like with this new one, a couple of them just felt a little bit like they weren't really there, if that makes any sense. They just felt a little bit off with the design. But the original Hellraiser, they just felt like fucking, yeah, you could almost like touched them. It just felt so real. Dan says the reaction trends have been pretty hilarious. I hated the movie, but I've genuinely enjoyed all the playful sparring. Sean says, excellent Pearl accent. I've yet to see Pearl. Pearl has not dropped in the UK, and I am fucking fuming about it. Hello, UK, get Pearl a fucking UK release, please. We haven't got Barbarian either until the end of the fucking month. UK, sort your shit out, man. Mia Goth. Can somebody explain to me, by the way, as somebody who's not seen Pearl? So with X, Mia Goth plays. What's her name? I've forgotten her name. She's in the next film. I've forgotten her name already. But Pearl is played by Mia Goth in Pearl. Is there any kind of like acknowledgements as to like why there won't be? I don't think to see why there would be, but Mia Goth playing Pearl and also playing the character who name escapes me, who is in the next film. Did they try and explain away why Pearl looks exactly like Mia Goth? Because Mia Goth in X is meant to be a different person to Pearl, and yet she's played by Mia Goth as Pearl in the next film. So I'm a little bit confused about how is there any sort of explanation as to why that's happened? Because clearly, obviously, it's a bit strange. Because you would think that if Pearl sees Mia Goth in X, she's thinking, "Oh, I'm looking in a mirror. This is me from when I was a young woman." But there's none of that. So yeah, it's a little bit. Deborah, please see. Deborah, sorry. New subscriber, maybe. I don't know if I've seen you in the chat before, but welcome on board. I didn't get anything out of this Halloween trilogy, but I'm not angry about it. It's not worth getting angry. You just watch the movies and you walk away and you move on with your life. Yes, Sean, I need to do some things before Scarefest. So that will be the Halloween season main event. Scarefest, is that the one down where you guys are all going? I think you, Jake, Lorne, a few of the other guys are going. If it is, jealous. Very, very jealous. Maybe one day I'll travel over to the States and, it's a little bit difficult for me. Do you need to be like triple jabbed as well to go to the States? Like, what's the COVID rules? Because, yeah, that's not happening. I ain't getting fucking jabbed. So I don't really know what the score is with like going to the States at the minute with like, COVID restrictions and you're allowed in without any sort of like vaccinations. I feel like the Purge will echo real life soon. People losing their shit over the film. Yeah, more than likely. Yeah. We need another Purge film, actually. The last one wasn't great. I think we need to get... Actually, the last Purge film was fucking awful. Oh, my God. That was so bad. Halloween needs to go away for a while. I think that, it definitely needs to go away. Unless we're going to do a TV show, which I'm going to come into that. I did have an idea for a TV show, and I'm going to double down on that soon. Give it 15 years. Let's focus on other films. Sean says, I really don't want a new Elm Street film. I just want to see them working. I don't want to see any Elm Street films at all. I'm really done with that franchise. And I know it's been 12 years since we've had an Elm Street film, but I'm good without any more Elm Street, really. I really am. Unless they can do something really, really interesting. I know people have been saying Kevin Bacon to play Freddy, but Kevin Bacon is kind of like the right frame, very slight sort of character. He's got the build of a Freddy Krueger. Is he a little bit old now? He's like probably 60, 61. Maybe he should be going for someone younger. I don't know, but I'm really not that fussed about a Nightmare on Elm Street remake, to be fair. I still enjoy the original Food of Return. I'll be after wasted 15 years. That's things though. 15 years. I'll be 61 in 15 years' time. So if you're like one of these younger kids, good for you. Think about old fucks like me, Think waiting 15 years, I'll be 61, man. Big T, how would they bring Michael back? They're going to continue the franchise. There's only way they could go about it would be to somehow do some bizarre HAL 820 thing where it wasn't Michael who went through into the wood chipper metal. I don't know what do you even call that? Grinder, which would completely devalue everything that happened in this trilogy. They're gonna have to go with a full reboot, really. Personally, I would love to. If we're gonna get Halloween reboot, if we're gonna get more Halloween movies, which money talks, so we probably will at some point. I'd love to see them just go back to the early 80s, take it from after 78. We'll pretend that 2 never happened. We'll pretend that Michael did escape, and it's like maybe 1983, 1984, jump forward like 6 years. But it wouldn't be a movie, it would be a TV show, and I will get to that now. I'll just finish wrapping up some of the chat. Deborah, please, 100% agree. Dan, Deborah says, it's not like we want Johnny Carr's ideas. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. There's always, you can always do something new. As long as you keep that core elements of Michael, you can always bring new things in. The more you repeat the same idea, again, it's going to get worn out. I mean, you're not wrong. That's where it's a balance. It's a fine balancing act between bringing new ideas in, but keeping some of the core elements of what makes something like Halloween work. That's where I think that Ends kind of got things a little bit wrong by just maybe throwing a few new things in at the last minute when it would have been better bringing them in 2018 or even Kills, like Corey's character, basically. Piz was saying, why not give some of the new good directors a decent budget to create an original story? That's not part of any franchise. Yeah, well, that probably makes too much sense, Deborah, for Hollywood. Laurie's transformation made 0 sense. No, Michael Slack. Yeah, I mean, Dan, like you've mentioned it. I've mentioned it. That was the biggest thing for me that just didn't make any sense whatsoever. Laurie's transformation in 4 years was bizarre. 40 years, can't get over it. 40 years, she's had a daughter and a granddaughter in that time. She's clearly moved on with her life and had a relationships, raised a daughter, and then she's got a granddaughter in her life, and yet she's living out in a house, away from the town, doubling that, like almost like treating life like those people, what do they call those people who preppers, preparing for the end of the world almost. It didn't make any sense that Michael's being banged away for 40 years. He's not going anywhere. Okay, he does, obviously, but she doesn't know that. He was caught on the night of the original attack. He's just a normal man. Hence the way they were pushing the new trilogy. So he gets caught night of the attack, sent away for 40 years. What has she got to worry about? She's gonna be a bit fucked up with PTSD, but she's had a daughter. She's had a daughter. That's where she should be at the beginning of 2018. It doesn't make any sense that she's in that position at the beginning of Ends, where Michael's fucking killed a daughter, butchered a bunch of people, and is on the run. It's just so strange. It really is. And people can defend this movie all they want. More power to them, but I've yet to see a good argument for I've yet to see a good rebuttal to that point. Nobody's really said, well, it's like I've yet to see anyone respond to that, because there's very little really you can say to that. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's like trying to beat a dead horse, like not going to happen. Are you going to try to do the horror trivia event at Scarefest and defend your title? Listen, I don't think anybody could beat Dan on horror trivia. I mean, if he can beat Lorne, then I seriously don't think there's anybody in the United States who knows more about horror films than Dan. The reason I didn't catch that live, that the Lorne versus Dan, but I knew the reason I thought Dan might win is because Dan watches everything. He'll just watch he'll watch the best horror films of all time. He'll watch the most average horror films of all time, but also watch the utter shittest films of all time. Whereas Lorne's not going to be watching, like House Shark, Ouija Shark. So if any questions come up regarding like absolutely terrible films, Lorne's not going to know the answer to them. But Dan will be like, yeah, I know that one, So yeah, that was. I didn't really think there was any danger of Dan losing that battle. I very much doubt there's anybody in the United States who knows more about horror movies than Dan, to be fair. But maybe the challenge is out there. Not to take any enjoyment from those who enjoyed the films. Absolutely, if you enjoyed the film, you enjoy the film. There are films out there that I love and I know people absolutely despise. Do I bitch and whine about it? No. Because most of the time they're probably fucking right. Most of the time they probably are dog shit films that I just happen to enjoy. There's a lot of the film. Something like It Follows is a film I love, and I can see its flaws. I've mentioned its flaws numerous times on streams, but I still love the film, and I know that people who hate that film with a passion. Because and the reason they hate it with a passion is because the amount of love that it gets from a lot of people. But I can totally understand the hate that they have for that film because it's not for everyone. No film is for everyone, and it is flawed. There are things which don't make any sense, but I still love the film. But and it's the same with Ends. For me, there's major flaws that make me not like the film that much. But for a lot of people, those flaws don't really matter because they love 80% of issues about the film, and so they're prepared to overlook like the flaws, and maybe they don't even see any flaws in the film. I don't know, but Dan says no crack. I'll be hanging out with my fellow podcasters mostly. Anthony says, been watching the straight to DVD Hellraiser films. I found them very entertaining. I've not gone down that rabbit hole. I checked out at 3 and then came back for the remake. I've heard 4's okay, and I've heard after that it's a bit of a rough watch. I just think that life's too short to watch really, really bad movies. So they really want to spend, an entire afternoon watching straight to DVD Hellraiser movies. Probably not. But Deborah says the Halloween series deserves a rest for a while, even if it goes away for a few years. I prefer they let it die a peaceful death, but I doubt they can resist milking it further. I'm not entirely sure. That's the thing with the Hellraiser, with the Halloween franchise. Now, Dan will probably know better than I do, and maybe a few other people in the chat. So Bloom currently has the rights to it, I'm assuming, but the trilogy's done. So what happens now? At what stage does it then pass over for somebody else to do something with it? Can Bloom keep hold of the rights for as long as he wants, or is he obliged to? I don't know how law works with me. I have no idea. So does Bloom have to is he obliged to offer them up to somebody else for a price, or can he just sit on them forever? I don't think he'll do that, but I've no idea how it works. So I'd like to see somebody different take a shot at doing something new with the franchise. Dan says you have to make people hungry for it again for sure. Absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, I think you, some of you guys on Chris's stream mentioned, I think Jonathan might have said you've got to sort of you go in hard for a few years with something you like Halloween, and then you back away, and then you give it 9-10 years, and then you come back again and wait till the people are hungry again. And I think that is definitely true for Halloween. But obviously, if they have got the rights to Season of the Witch, which I'm assuming they have, they may turn their attention to that. Which couldn't, but like Big T's saying they're turning the Season of the Witch into its own franchise and Halloween on the shelf. A lot of people have been saying that now about Season of the Witch. Going forward with that, turning it into its own little universe. I mean, I'm down with that. I loved the Halloween 3 film. I'm not one of those people who doesn't want to, because at the end of the day, that film exists. It's always going to exist. So if they come along and do something in it, it just butchers the whole Season of the Witch mythos. It's not going to alter the fact that film exists. So I'm all down. I'm down for that and seeing what they can do with it. And I do love Season of the Witch, and man, if you could get Tom Atkins back for that film or a TV show, hell yeah, I'm all down for that. Thoughts on people getting death threats for not liking these movies? Yeah, I mean that's totally unacceptable. Listen, like what I said before is like it's unacceptable to offer death threats to people for having an opinion on a movie. What I said was, I don't care if somebody offers a death threat to me. That doesn't mean it's acceptable to do it. But my personal opinion is, if you make a death threat to me about not liking a film, I'm not going to take it seriously. If I was like a YouTuber with like 2 million subscribers, and I had a visible presence on the internet, and people knew where I lived, then maybe my opinion will be a little bit different. But as somebody who nobody knows the fuck I am, nobody knows where I live, and if somebody wants to make a death threat to me, I don't give a fuck. I'll just call them out and say, you're pathetic. But it's not the right thing to do, and it's totally wrong. If that person feels uncomfortable, they should absolutely report it and get that person, in a court of law. I'm just saying, from a personal perspective, if somebody threatens me and says, "Oh, I think you should be killed for your opinion," I'll be like, I'll just highlight the name and go, and then just debate them and just try and make a fool of them and say, "What the fuck are you talking about, man? You're pathetic. You're a joke." But it's obviously personal preference. I would never want to see that happen to people who are, it's a difficult one. Yeah, I'm totally against people sending death threats to people who aren't comfortable with it. But if you are comfortable with it and you don't mind getting death threats, then let them send the death threats, and then just deal with it and just make fools of them. You know what I mean? It's the best way to deal with these people. You humiliate them. Humiliation is the best comeback. How do people see death as being a it is a toxic atmosphere. This is all down, Deborah, to like this became a thing with I mean, it's obviously social media. Social media was a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, I remember the good old days of the internet before social media, because there was a time where we had the internet, but we didn't have all this. And as good as this is, being able to interact with people, it's fantastic. Making friends with people you never be speaking to now. But there was a time on the internet before Facebook and Twitter and YouTube where it was kind of restricted to online forums, and people weren't always the kindest then, but it's become more and more of a thing with social media. That as people have got sucked more and more into a life of Twitter and Instagram, and what happens is with these websites is people kind of get sucked into like one group, one side. The algorithms kind of shift to what they want to hear, what they want to see, what they want to listen to. So they kind of get sucked into this way of thinking where they don't really get opposite opinions. And this is for both sides of the spectrum, be it like whether it's talking about political or movies or anything. You know, people kind of get sucked into one side and they see anything as a difference of opinion as just being like triggering to them. So they just go on the attack then, and they can't really formulate why, in any sort of coherent way, why they dislike the difference of opinion. They've just been brainwashed over a set amount of time to not like someone or something or some movie or some book or whatever. And that's why you see such division on online, on Twitter especially. You know, it's left versus right. It could be like Star Wars versus Star Trek or Harry Potter versus Lord of the Rings. It's all these divisions going on. And it's not going to get any better, unfortunately. But you just got to deal with it. I mean, you've got to have a thick skin if you're going to go on Twitter, or especially Twitter. I would say you've got to have a thick skin. If you can't take the heat, you know, you've just got to get out the kitchen. It's just the way it is. DJ says, I like Halloween Resurrection. Okay, DJ, that's triggering to me, and I'm going to cancel you because that is a disgraceful opinion. You're cancelled. One of the mods, please put DJ in a timeout. I'm joking. It's a joke. I think DJ's a mod anyway. I'm joking, by the way, guys. Halloween Resurrection, though. Come on, DJ. What are you thinking, man? They can hate all they want. If all they can call me is Goblin, then carry on, Charles. Haha. Absolutely. Jason, my other half, loves wrestling. He has a stream and he's always watching wrestling videos. Keeps him quiet, I suppose. DJ says, I'm not into wrestling, but Steve Austin, Hogan, The Rock, and I don't know for four. Yeah, so yeah, I think a lot of people's Mount Rushmore of wrestling would be. Dan says, I think Hellraiser will definitely launch a new series of films. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I think it will. I mean, it should do. It's one of the better sort of reboots of like the last sort of 15, 20 years. I thought I'd hate it, and I actually really liked it. That'd be awesome. Dan says, did you see the new yes. Dan, yes. Don't get me started on Velma. Oh my god. Yeah, I could go into a big rant about Velma. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to get too political, but I mean, talk about hating on your fans, man. The trailer is just, it's been downvoted to hell. It's gone very, very woke, and it'll probably go broke. But no Scooby-Doo in a Scooby-Doo show. I mean, the whole Velma lesbian thing, I've got no problem with because I always thought Velma was lesbian anyway. The race swapping thing, that just feels like we've got to do it because everybody's doing it now. So if they race swapped it in like 1985, wouldn't have had an issue with it because nobody was doing that at the time. But in 2022, everybody's just race swapping everything because they see everybody else doing it. So they think, well, we've got to race swap as well. So they're not doing it from any honourable intentions. Like these big film studios and TV studios, they are not race swapping anybody because they care about minorities. They're doing it because they feel they've got to do it. They don't care about you. They don't care about anyone. They care about making money. But which is strange because by doing this, they are kind of losing money at the same time. So it's a little bit of a catch-22 situation. I don't really know why they keep doing this because it's not really working. But yeah, I mean, yeah, if anybody thinks that like the creators of the new Velma show, if anybody thinks if the LGBTQ and the Black community, the Asian community, if they think they're doing this to Velma to please you, well, they are, but they don't really give a shit about you. They're just doing it because they're virtue signaling, because everybody else is virtue signaling. It's just ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. I don't. I mean, it's just so daft. It's so daft. Um, yeah, Dan, do not get me started on that shit show they're trying to call Scooby Doo. Yeah, I mean, they should have ended it after the Scooby Doo movie in 2002. That was a fucking that film was such a good movie, man. Velma was all woman in that film. Holy shit, Velma was hot as hell in that film. Velma was so much hotter than Daphne in that movie. You know, is it officially out? I don't think it's out yet. Maxine. Okay, thanks, Big T. Yeah, Maxine. That's the name of the girl from X. Scarefest in Kentucky. Yes, I think you're clearing it now, Mike. Cream Rice Soft. Ew, yeah. The Last Page movie lost me. Although never. Yeah, it was fucking bad. I like the. I think it was the first Page, which was set on. Was it set on Staten Island in New York? I think that was the first Page. I think that was the one before the last movie they made. No, I like that movie. I thought that was a solid film. The last one though, yeah, it went a bit woke for my liking. It was a little bit too politically aimed at a certain demographic of America. I try and keep in touch with American politics, and I kind of feel like they were aiming at a certain group of people in America in a negative way, and I thought, yeah, it's just a cheap shot. Sophie says, "I'm 20. I'm just a baby to you." Ha ha. Some standalone Halloween films might work like Season of the Witch. Absolutely. I want Lorne to watch Halloween Ends. I really do. I just want to see him talk about. I mean, I just want to. I want to get that real bitter, vicious, nasty sort of like review from him on Region 3. I'd love that. It wouldn't be pretty. It wouldn't be pretty. I'll come back to these comments in a minute. I'm just going to briefly go back to Halloween. I think I didn't really cover all the bases about the movie in terms of what I thought worked, what I thought didn't work. But what I thought would just go into, because I've been going for like over an hour now, so longer than I was expecting to go for, to be fair. Where I think it should go basically forward, and please, you guys, you leave your comments down below where you think it's going to go next, or where you think it should, more importantly, where you think it should go next. Because I was talking, I think a few people have mentioned this. I mentioned it in a stream a while ago about a TV show, and I think I went into some detail about it, but I'm just going to reiterate it because I think it's kind of more prevalent now. Now we've had the final film, and I think a lot of people are talking now about a TV show as maybe a possible next step for it. What I can vaguely remember what I said was, I can't remember. I might have said that maybe after we set a TV show after the event of 2. If I did say that, I'd probably go back and veer away from having the event of 2 and doing a TV show set in around 83, 84 to get that like nice sort of early to mid 80s slasher movie feel. You can get a lot of pop culture references in there. Just call the show Haddonfield. Nice and straightforward, nice and simple. Something that people are going to, attach. People are going to know what it's about. Haddonfield is brand recognition, and basically take the events of 78 with Laurie. Michael's escaped, never to be seen again. Laurie's moved on with her life, moved out of Haddonfield, and the events, the people of Haddonfield go carry on about their daily business, their daily lives, and what we set the TV show maybe like 3, 4 years, 5 years after the events of 78. So it's far enough away from the events of the original night, so people have kind of like starting to move on. but they're still there at the back at the back of people's minds what happened, and basically doing a show where you kind of just create this extended universe where you bring in new characters, you bring in some sort of like crazy shit that goes on in Haddonfield, which is not even connected to Michael. Almost like a sort of creep show vibe, or just stuff that happens in the same. It's almost like a Stephen King feel to it, where it's like it's all happening in the same universe, but not necessarily connected to like Pennywise or what happens in The Shining. But it all feels like it's all interconnected in the way that I think Body Bags references Haddonfield. The 1993 short story by John Carpenter. Just do a TV show like that, and season one, you just have a storyline with other minor storylines focusing around the central storyline, and at the back of things is Michael Myers, but he's just mentioned, in passing. Doesn't play any sort of role in the show in the first season, but he's just there with brief mentions, and you focus on other events in Haddonfield basically, and then assuming season one is a success, obviously. If it wasn't, then that would be a disaster. But then you move into season two and you start to bring in more elements from things that have happened in the past. And then the Michael influence starts to grow. Maybe there's talk about, he's been spotted in other parts of the US, other parts of Illinois, maybe. But again, then it's just something that's in the background. But then we build up, and we still got other sides. We've got other storylines with other things going on. Maybe like a separate serial killer, a copycat, or something, or just other weird shit going on. And then as we move forward, maybe into season three, and if let's just say this was a 3 or 4 season show, that's when we start seeing things, and that's when you start throwing in little Easter eggs, and that's when you start throwing in things for the audience to spot. And you start putting Michael in shots out of just out of frame, where you just see like the face, the mask, and you just build up the tension throughout the season. Maybe in 3 or 4, and then by season 4, then it just goes a full-on Michael Myers thing where he's just on a tear up. I just think that would be a great way to go with a Halloween TV show. I think that would be just gold. I really do. You start off slow and then you just build up the tension, and this goes on for 3 or 4 years, obviously in terms of TV, to the point then where people are just gagging to see Michael. They're just desperate to see him back on a TV screen, or and that's the way I'd go personally. Just call the show Haddonfield and just go down a route where it's a small town with people going about their daily lives, but crazy shit goes down, but it's not connected to Michael. And it's only over the course of 3 or 4 years that he starts to slowly make his way into the consciousness of the townsfolk again. And then people start to see him in the distance, in the background. And, it's one of them. I just think that would work really, really well, rather than just another rehash of the movies. But Hollywood doesn't listen to people like me. No, they listen to people like Jason Blum and his opinions. So anyway, I think the right to verse it back after the trilogy. So did they go back to what Malek Akkad? Like, what does he own? What does he own in terms? Because the Akkad's are always involved in the franchise. Their name is always there. But if it reverts back, who does it revert back to? Yes, they don't have the rights anymore after this one. So who's got the rights then? Okay. So no, they don't have any fans right now. No, but they could potentially make a new deal. Halley goes back to Miramax next, right? Okay. Let's see if Farm and Lucy can just something that they were close to making one. Cheska's in the chat. What's up, Cheska? Nice to see you on board. DJ says people should like whatever the fuck they want to shove up. Say exactly. Sophie says I may trigger some people, but fuck them. I love the 2016 Ghostbusters. Well, look, personal opinion, Sophie. I don't like that movie personally. I don't think it's a particularly good film. But you know, I just think after 1 and 2, you're fighting a losing battle to try and make. 1's a classic. 2's is good. I mean, I think Afterlife is fucking atrocious as well. I mean, to be fair, I think Ghostbusters is a sort of franchise where you've got the first 2 movies and the real Ghostbusters, the cartoon, which I love. So much nostalgia for that as a kid. I'll just say leave it at that. Yeah, I mean, 2016 Ghostbusters. Each to their own. Each to their own, I would say. The Scooby-Doo live action was the first one I saw in 1977. It was a fucking good film. I really liked it. Oh, Dave's up. Dave, nice to see you on board, man. I'm going to be wrapping things up soon, like so. Halloween Ends was terrible. Yes, it was. It was terrible. I did enjoy your review, man. Anybody who's not subscribed to Dave Savage Zombie Reviews, please go over and give his channel a subscription. I did nominate him for Horror YouTuber of the Month as well last month. So, yeah, go and give Dave a subscription. Dan says, a TV series set in Haddonfield could work. You wouldn't need to keep Michael Houseworth out. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of like what I was going to say. Up until I think up until a certain point, though, because I think after a certain point, people probably just be clamoring, "Oh, we need Michael. We need Michael." I can't cope without Michael Myers in the TV show, but I think if you kept him out of it for like 2-3 seasons and then brought him in, I think that would be a really effective way of bringing him back, and then maybe doing a movie. Yes, it was Savage. I don't know. Dave says Halloween Ends would make a great episode of Haddonfield TV series. Yeah, exactly. We would. The Corey Cummings. So yeah, bringing Corey in at the end of the franchise just didn't make any sense at all. It really was just a strange decision. Kate McKinnon was the best part of 2016 Ghostbusters. It certainly wasn't Chris Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth is just there to look like a dumb blonde. Which is bizarre because, like, when you think about it, Ghostbusters 2016 was kind of like this, like, ultra feminine, like, movie where they kind of like they took Chris Hemsworth and made him it's like this dumb blonde male receptionist. But when you compare that to the 84 Ghostbusters, Janine was anything but a dumb receptionist. She was sassy, she was wisecracking, she was like a tough New York woman. And she put them in their place, She wasn't anything like the Hemsworth version. So, they were trying to make a statement with the 2016 Ghostbusters. Is that, a statement. But if it was going to be like a polar opposite of the original Ghostbusters, then they really didn't cast Janine right into putting Chris Hemsworth in there, because Janine was a fantastic, strong woman in that film. She was anything but like a dumb receptionist. Haddonfield PD coming exclusively to the Peacock streaming service. Right, I must sleep. It's so late. I'll defo join another stream. It's been great. Okay, Sophie. Well, I'll be live tomorrow night as well. So, if you're up tomorrow night and jump on board again, no problem, Dave. Yeah, no problem at all, man. 2016 was just making me so angry. Big T says there's no such thing as ghost. It was a fever dream. It didn't happen. Well, I'd love that to have happened to Afterlife as well, because that was equally diabolical. Hemsworth's character was the worst part. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I think I've rambled on long enough, guys. I've been talking for like nearly an hour and 30 minutes. I didn't even cover half of what I wanted to cover, but I think I've talked about Halloween Ends enough now. It's time to move on. It's time to get out of my system. I watched it again tonight, and it's not as bad as what I thought it was. but it's still not a great film. But quickly wrap up a couple of these comments. None of the sequels ever looked. No, certainly not. Never will. When will the film companies ask? We don't want shit like that. They're just losing money. See you tomorrow night, then, Dave. See you, Dave, man. Dave, man, if you're up and about tomorrow night, man, I'll put the link out. Just jump on. Because I'd love to speak to you in person, man, rather than just through chat. So I'm going to be live tomorrow night. JT is going to be on as well, I think. So so I'm going to wrap things up now, guys. Everyone in the chat's been great. Another great last stream on Friday, 150 views. And I'm not saying the Halloween in the title doesn't help. Hence, another Halloween in the title. I'm just shilling for Halloween now. But everyone who jumped on tonight, thank you very much. I will see you tomorrow night, hopefully. Good night. Bye.